Hey guys, it's Karl. So I just got back from a special little hands-on period of the brand new Samsung Galaxy S23 series. So 3 devices as per usual, the S23 Ultra, the flagship S23 Plus, as well as the standard S23. This will be your very first look and unboxing of the new device. So I got to take a look at my favorite colorway, which is labeled as just green. 4 different colors this year. So we have, of course, the green, which I mentioned, which is very much like a camo. It almost looks a bit like an olive green. We also had cream, lavender, and phantom black. And this year round, the phone is kind of inspired by nature. So obviously the colors, but as we get into a lot of the design and a lot of the sustainability around the phone, so a lot of recycled plastics. Coming in from the actual box, once again, 100% recycled cardboard, very slim. We're not really getting too much inside, but you actually see this year around the little green color of the phone. On the front, of course, it says Galaxy S23 Ultra. Underneath, we actually have a bit of a piece of cardboard blocking the phone, and removing that, you can see your very first look at the device. So it has those iconic 3 camera rings. That's kind of your first look at this colorway, and off to the side, you can actually see all 4 colors kind of lined up. Within the rest of the box, nothing else underneath, and on the back side of the box, that's where we have the USB-C cable, warranty info, user manuals, all that I know we love to read for nighttime reading. Obviously no power brick, no extra accessories. That's come pretty standard for most Galaxy devices these days. And removing the little black piece of plastic on the front, ever so satisfying. And we're greeted with the display. So as we boot this on, there's actually a few differences on the display. It's still 6.8 inches, it's Super AMOLED, it still has an adaptive refresh rate, but we know that the Ultra series tends to have that curved display around the sides. So this year around on the 23 Ultra, it's actually a bit more flat. It still has a curve, but it's less pronounced than, say, the S22 Ultra. I think a lot of people that prefer the flat displays will rejoice. You can still definitely feel a bit of a curve, but it's definitely less than last year. And if you go into the S23 Plus and S23, those have a flat display, 6.6 inches and 6.1 inches respectively. It's also the first phone that uses a Gorilla Glass Victus 2 Gloss, so the 2nd gen. It'll be interesting to see how this holds up over time for scratches, but because of the less pronounced curve, the Ultra series should be easier to apply a screen protector. So I'm always a big fan of that, protecting your screens because glass has kind of gone down in softness to help with the shatterability. It's a word that I've just invented. Sometimes surface scratches are easier to get, so just keep your devices protected for sure. So furthermore to the Ultra series, just like we saw in the previous gen, this is the phone that gets the good old S Pen. So it is color matched just on the end tip. The rest of the pen is still black. No new updates coming to the S Pen, but kind of moving forward, we've kind of seen the death of the Galaxy Note series, sadly. That thing hasn't got an update in years now, so just expect the Ultra series always to carry the S Pen. So if you are an S Pen fan, I honestly think I like to use it to sign documents. Sometimes I draw the occasional thing, but I find my use with the S Pen kind of drops every single year. I find that I don't use it that much, but it's nice to have if you're a fan of the Ultra series. So moving on over to the back. So we've got a big change this year. So this is the first time Samsung is introducing a 200 megapixel sensor. So obviously a ton of megapixels. It actually combines 16 pixels into one larger pixel. So we're technically binning, but some of the quick little sample shots that we used it for in the demo area, we were able to zoom in on some of these sticky notes that they wrote on the wall. Just because we have that extra megapixel count lets you crop in additionally and use those photos as standalone. So definitely a great feature to have. You won't need to zoom in as far, and just taking a standard photo, you're able to once again crop in and use extra real estate. So that's nice to have. Obviously more in-depth testing will be done once I get my actual device here in studio and I can actually take some real photos. There's also improvements to nightography or low light photography, especially for that front-facing camera. It's an area where most phones struggle with. Once again, I'll have to test that out a bit more in person. But for the rest of the camera, it does have 2 times better optical image stabilization, still records in 8K 30 FPS. All those goodies, you've got all the different pro modes that you can choose from as well. And I guess the biggest physical change coming to the camera design, if you actually go lower into the S23 Plus and S23, you'll see that they share the same design language. So previously you had the small little cutouts chips. Now they're all the individual floating camera modules. So the design, I guess, language looks the same across all three devices. The biggest telltale sign would be the overall size of the device and, of course, the screen. And lastly, internally for the chipsets, they are rocking the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 platform. That's the same chipset that when I went to the Snapdragon conference in Hawaii, got to see that in action. So definitely will be a top performing device. Anything that you throw at a flagship these days tends to perform very well. And a 5,000 milliamp hour battery for the S23 Ultra, and the S23 Plus and S23 have a 200 milliamp hour increase for both of those models. So that's pretty much been your first look at the S23 lineup. Let me know which your favorite colorway was, which one you're gonna grab. I'm definitely eyeing the green as my personal daily. I definitely think Samsung should have called it some sort of olive NATO camo. That still fits into the whole nature theme, but obviously I'm not in charge of Samsung's color naming scheme. Let me know if you want comparisons between this, the iPhone, any other device. I'll kind of dive into it a bit more in my full review. I know that I'll be in San Fran, so depending when you're watching this, for the launch of Unpacked, I might already be there. Time warp, Inception kind of thing. I'll catch the rest of you guys in one of my next vids. Peace!